Hello and welcome to News Central Television. I am Lekon Onobanjo. Here are some stories making rounds beyond the continent. Russian President Vladimir Putin says Moscow would cease fire and begin peace talks immediately if Ukraine pulled back troops from 4 regions and gave up its NATO membership bid. The Russian leader was outlining its conditions to halting the full-scale military offensive that he launched in February 2022, speaking on the eve of a major peace summit in Switzerland orchestrated by Ukraine and its allies. Russia claimed to have annexed the 4 regions in 2022 despite not having full control over any of them. Putin said he did not rule out maintaining Ukrainian sovereignty over the southern Kherson and Zaporizhia region on the conditions that Russia has a strong land link with Crimea.
То, что предлагают устроители встречи в Швейцарии, лишь еще одна уловка, чтобы отвлечь всеобщее внимание, поменять местами причину и следствие украинского кризиса, пустить дискуссию по ложному следу и в какой-то степени обозначить видимость легитимности действующей исполнительной власти на Украине еще раз.
Meanwhile, NATO chief Jens Stoltenberg says conditions set out by Russian President Vladimir Putin for initiating Ukraine peace talks are not a proposal made in good faith. Stoltenberg's comment comes during a meeting of NATO defense ministers in Brussels and follows Moscow's proposal that Kyiv pull its troops out of the regions claimed by Russia and cease efforts to join NATO in return for peace talks.
So this just demonstrates that this is not a proposal made in good faith, but this is a proposal that actually means that Russia should achieve their war aims by also expecting or expecting that Ukraine should give up significantly more land than Russia has been able to.
Also, Pentagon Chief Lloyd Austin has rejected Russian President Vladimir Putin's demands that Ukraine withdraw its troops from territory claimed by Moscow to end the Kremlin's invasion. Speaking in Brussels at a meeting of NATO defense ministers, Austin said Putin has illegally occupied sovereign Ukrainian territory and is not in any position to dictate to Ukraine what they must do to bring about peace.
Putin has illegally occupied sovereign Ukrainian territory. He is not in any position to dictate to Ukraine what they must do
To further discuss this, I'm joined by Ejike Okpa, Global Affairs Analyst. Thank you so much, Ejike, for joining us.
Having me.
What's your response to Russia's conditions for peace talks?
My response is that Russia is not ready for peace. So they are throwing in conditions that makes it harder for Ukraine to accept or even for the world to accept. So it's basically like in your face, this is what we're going to do. You've taken a part of a sovereign nation, and then you turn around and telling them you have to give up on that portion that we have taken. It's like in the news, it's more like a demand and it's an alternative. And it's just more like in your face, how dare you? And we're not if you don't want this, then we're going to keep the war. So it doesn't make sense. And we'll see. Maybe he's just feeling bad because he's not invited, to the peace thing going on in Switzerland. So he's just trying to make everybody angry. He succeeded, for 2 years and 4 months he's done this. He succeeded. So we shouldn't expect anything different. But I'm hoping maybe after this bluff, because it's more like bluffing, Ukraine and Russia and all the parties that are interested in this will come to terms as to what needs to happen in order to see a peace. But based on what Putin is saying, no peace will ever happen as a result.
So then what's your interpretation of NATO chief, that is Stoltenberg's claim that Ukraine is on an irreversible path to NATO membership? What impact do you think this could have on the conflict and the regional security that has been much talked about?
Well, Russia said, hey, we don't want Ukraine, to be a member of NATO because, Ukraine is their closest, unfriendly nation. So it's more like having somebody who you don't like being next door to you, spying on you. And then, of course, the NATO leadership is saying they're not going to withdraw their application for membership. So it's one of those two things is, what do you really do? Would you say, okay, Ukraine get out and then that means you acquiesce into Russia and then Russia will now say, hey, we have succeeded. So it's not going to happen. Whether this will prolong the war, maybe it will, because if the two sides are not agreeing to ceasefire and then the conditions that the both can accept, which we probably have to embrace ourselves for a longer period of the conflict.
Well, for Ukraine, a lot is needed if it's going to be able to pull through this war with Russia. So what role do you think organizations like NATO now and the EU should play in supporting Ukraine, most especially in the light of Stoltenberg's call for a major multi-year financial commitment to sustain support for the country?
Membership in NATO is basically that, if you attack one, you attack all. So if the application and the membership is approved, then automatically Ukraine will get any support that, NATO members, are entitled because of membership in that pact. So would they withdraw? No, they will not withdraw. The implication is just going to be more global tension. Russia is doing this because they feel they can. It is the ego. A lot of Russians don't want this war, but Putin is who he is. He dictates and he commands, and nobody in Russia has, the will to remove him. You see that he dies in office, and then something new will happen, or there's a coup. A change in regime, but Putin is very difficult and nobody even knows where he sleeps. You may see him in this particular place and then the next day you don't know whether he's there. He has a good security around him and it's harder for anybody to get to him to where he can be physically removed until he gives us the power either by choice or some other means.
All right, so finally, AGK, looking ahead now, how do you think that the conflict will impact global governance, issues around international laws and the liberal world order, and what implications for future conflicts and global security in the light of these statements coming from all these parties involved, talking about Russia, NATO, EU, and Ukraine's stance?
Well, the implication is nobody knows. China is, dutifully watching to see what happens because China has an eye on Taiwan. If for whatever reason, the West that is supporting Ukraine acquiesces to Russia, then China is going to get, prompted or triggered to now say, oh, we're going to go over there. And then in that case, what happens? America that's got this agreement with Taiwan will step in. So the implication is, beyond the specific geographical region where this conflict is. It might enable other countries, in Africa and South America, to say, hey, if you can overpower a neighboring country because you are bigger than them militarily, you can do it. So we're hoping that that doesn't send any precedent. But it's not a good outcome as we know it because this peace in Russia and Ukraine conflict, nobody has any crystal ball as to when it can, stop. And then, UN, NATO, EU, they are powerless. Russia is a member of the Security Council. China is. So, and the two of them make up 40% of that in terms of votes, so they're going to support each other, and then the other three, the votes doesn't really matter. So again, that tells you some of these international groups really are not effective. Not the International Court of Justice, not UN, not anything. You know, they set these states up thinking it could be a place you can go and get a peaceful resolution on issues, but we have seen it does not. You know, because the superpowers at the end will override the interests of majority of countries. That's why in my earlier conversations, I have suggested that the charter that set up the United Nations needs to be reviewed, and every country should have a vote. And that vote should be significant. It shouldn't just be by the vote of the 5 that are permanent members of the Security Council.
Okay. Ejike Okpa, Global Affairs Analyst, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us.
Thank you for having me.
Right. Let's move on now to tell you that Pope Francis has called for lethal autonomous weapons to be banned, warning of the dangers of artificial intelligence. Well, he was speaking about addressing a gathering of G7 leaders in Italy. Pope Francis, the first head of the Catholic Church to ever attend a Group of 7 summit, has repeatedly denounced the arms industry and those he says profit from wars and death. AI is already being used on the battlefield, and its move into modern warfare is raising concerns about the risks of escalation and the role of humans in decision-making.
In un dramma come quello dei conflitti armati è urgente ripensare lo sviluppo e l'utilizzo di dispositivi come le cosiddette armi letali autonome per bandire l'uso, cominciando già da un impegno fattivo e concreto per introdurre un sempre maggiore e significativo controllo umano. Nessuna macchina dovrebbe mai scegliere se togliere la vita a un essere umano.
You're watching Beyond the Continent on New Central Television. We'll be back with more stories in a short while. Do stay with us. Many thanks for being there. We're still in Europe now. A repeal of President Emmanuel Macron's pension reform, setting the minimum wage of 1,600 euros and fighting unemployment are some of the issues discussed by the leaders of the French left during the presentation of a joint program for the upcoming legislative elections under the banner of the New Popular Party. The New Popular Front is an alliance of the main left-wing forces, unveiled its program for the legislative elections on Friday. The program leaves certain points of disagreement unresolved, such as nuclear power and NATO.
Qui va toucher tout le monde parce qu'on s'est beaucoup battu contre, c'est l'abrogation de la réforme des retraites que nous ferons dans les 15 jours après notre victoire le 7 juillet prochain. J'en appelle à toutes celles et ceux qui n'étaient pas d'accord avec cette réforme, qui ont marché avec nous, qui ont signé des pétitions avec nous, qui ont regardé nos députés se battre à l'Assemblée nationale pour faire échec à cette réforme, et on vous l'avait promis, on vous avait promis qu'on n'abandonnerait jamais. Et bien nous y sommes. Ils pensaient avoir remporté la partie, mais on ne gagne jamais définitivement en politique. Et donc nous arriverons et nous abrogerons cette réforme des retraites injuste.
Eh bien, l'une des premières mesures que nous prendrons, c'est d'annuler cette nouvelle réforme de l'assurance chômage qui va jeter à la misère des milliers de jeunes et aussi d'aînés qui seront, si cette réforme devait perdurer, les premières victimes du système.
Nous porterons le SMIC à 1 600 € net, 2 000 € brut, et le brut est important parce que les cotisations compteront pour financer la protection sociale de notre pays. Nous indexerons les salaires sur l'inflation qui est demandée par l'ensemble des salariés du privé comme du public. Nous augmenterons de 10 points le point d'indice, de 10% le point d'indice des agents de la fonction publique. Nous augmenterons le minimum contributif pour les retraités ainsi que le minimum vieillesse pour réparer cette injustice que subissent nos retraités dans notre pays. Et nous mettrons en place un décret de blocage des prix de première nécessité. Nous annulerons les augmentations du prix de l'énergie, du gaz et de l'électricité.
Italian anti-fascist activist Ilaria Salis, who was held in Hungary for alleged assault, released from house arrest in Budapest after she was elected a member of the European Parliament, lawyer Yogi Magia said members of the European Parliament enjoy strong legal immunity from prosecution, even if the allegations relate to the offences committed before their election. The 39-year-old teacher was charged in Hungary with taking part in an anti-fascist group's assaults on people they viewed as far-right activists. Salis has been held in Hungary for more than a year in a case that prompted the Italian Green and Left Alliance to nominate her among their candidates at the European ballot, as her case drew outrage in Italy in February after she was led into a court hearing with her feet and hands bound and a chain around her waist. In South America, the Inter-American Court of Human Rights has found Argentina responsible for failing to guarantee real access to the documentation of the attack against the Argentine-Israelite Mutual Association in 1994 in Buenos Aires, which left 85 people dead. On July 18, 1994, a truck bomb blew up in the AMIA headquarters building in the Argentine capital, and in addition to the dead, there were more than 300 people injured in an attack that remains unpunished to this day. According to the resolution of the Inter-American Court, the Argentine state was aware of a situation of real and immediate risk regarding the sites identified with the Jewish community and did not adopt reasonable measures to avoid this said risk.
La Corte declaró, además, la responsabilidad de Argentina por no haber garantizado un acceso real a la documentación sobre el atentado. Asimismo, se determinó la violación al derecho a la verdad por las múltiples falencias en la determinación de la verdad histórica sobre el atentado y su responsabilidad directa en las maniobras de encubrimiento, así como por las dificultades que han tenido los familiares de las víctimas en acceder a la información sobre el caso. La Corte Interamericana de Derechos Humanos decidió por unanimidad que 1. Aceptar el reconocimiento de responsabilidad efectuado por el Estado. 2. El Estado es responsable de la violación a los derechos a la vida, a la integridad personal reconocidos en los artículos 4.1 y 5 de la Convención Americana en relación con el artículo 1 del mismo instrumento en perjuicio de las víctimas de la.
In the Middle East, activists have gathered in Jerusalem city center to protest against rape culture in what they called a slut walk. Slut walk is a global movement that was born in 2011 when a Canadian police officer said that women should avoid dressing like sluts if they do not want to be victims of sexual violence. Participants in the demonstrations often dress in clothing that some consider revealing, and event organizers emphasize that there is no dress code. Participants gathered at the Zion Square in Jerusalem for a ceremony in which they will read out the names of the women who were murdered this year before gathering at a local bar for speeches and discussion circles. Away from that, Cypriots are uncomfortable under heat wave as temperatures soar above 40 degrees Celsius that has lasted several days at daytime. Schools suspended classes on Thursday due to the unbearable temperatures, and the Teachers Association said many children displayed symptoms of dizziness. Meteorologists said heat wave began on Monday, and the Labour Ministry ordered a stop to all outdoor work during the day as electricity consumption reached the island's upper capacity limits due to the intensive use of air conditioners. The Health Ministry advised especially tourists to wear loose, light-colored clothing, drink plenty of water, and stay in the shade. It also repeated advised against consuming alcohol and fatty foods. In Asia, Chinese Premier Li Qiang says he supports dialogue, not confrontation, during a visit to New Zealand where he stirred up hope of new trade avenues. Li is on a 6-day tour of New Zealand and Australia, the highest-ranking official to visit either nation since its predecessor in 2017. According to World Bank data, China accounts for 30% of New Zealand's export earnings, but there are fears these could evaporate if the world's second-largest economy continues to slow. The Chinese premier praised historic developments in relations between the two countries over the past decade during a speech before a gala dinner in Auckland hosted by Prime Minister Christopher Luxon. And now a bit of sports to wrap things up. Mixed martial arts star Conor McGregor's comeback fight against Michael Chandler in Las Vegas has been cancelled due to injury just 2 weeks before the fight was due to take place. The Irish mixed martial arts fighter, who is 35 years, has been out of action since breaking his leg in a July 2021 defeat to Dustin Poirier, but was scheduled to top the bill at UFC 303 on the 29th of June. However, his bout has now been pulled due to an unspecified problem. McGregor is one of the biggest stars in the history of hugely successful Ultimate Fighting Championship mixed martial arts circuits, formerly holding the featherweight and lightweight titles. Meanwhile, light heavyweight champion Alex Pereira will defend his belt against Jiri Prochaska in the new main event. That's all on Beyond the Continent. You can send your eyewitness report to the WhatsApp number and email on your screen. And while you do that, follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV, and equally watch us live on DSTV channel 422, StarTimes channel 274, Avo TV, and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I am Lekon Onobanjo.